Okay, let's welcome back to the show Young Americans for Liberty analyst Kristin Tate. Hey, Kristin, what was your reaction when you heard that California Governor Gavin Newsom is lifting his state's COVID-19 stay-at-home orders?
Well, first of all, I think this is way too late. This should have been done months ago because these orders have not been particularly effective in curbing COVID. But I think what's happening, Liz, is Gavin Newsom is feeling the pressure as this recall effort to remove him from office is really gaining a lot of traction. It started off as kind of this far-fetched idea, but now has a real shot at happening because people are getting fed up. They're getting fed up with being locked in their houses for months on end and basically being told to wait for government checks while businesses and jobs have been destroyed by these draconian lockdown efforts that really haven't done much to actually stop the spread of COVID.
Yeah, they're nearing 1.5 million signatures needed by March 17th. They're at 1.2 million right now to get that recall effort on the ballot in California. And people in California are really fed up, as you pointed out. They're also angry that they keep moving the goalposts for reopening, and they're not disclosing key data for the standards that they're using to reopen, right? So they've been kept in the dark about that, Kristin.
That's exactly right. I mean, basically, the state has imposed extreme economic pain for virtually no discernible public health gain. And over the last year, Liz, as business owners have really suffered, Gavin Newsom and the entire bureaucratic class in California have been completely out of touch because these orders haven't impacted them financially at all. I mean, Newsom and his whole staff enjoyed full guaranteed taxpayer salaries all year. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom had people locked in their homes. Police were sent out to arrest small business owners while these left-wing rioters were allowed to just be out in the streets terrorizing cities and towns with near impunity for almost the whole year. So people are getting fed up. And I would add, it's not just the governor's handling of COVID that has led to this recall effort. Newsom's big government policies have led to failing public school systems, exorbitant costs of living and housing costs, a spike in violent crime. And that's why, even though California has some of the most natural beauty in the country, people are fleeing that state in record numbers.
Yeah, nationwide, we've got something like 31 stats said 30% of small businesses have been destroyed because of the COVID shutdowns. Everybody understands COVID is lethal and you need to do everything you can to protect yourselves and stop it. But we've had two natural disasters happening at the same time. Let me put it the other way. Natural disaster, if you could say it that way, of COVID-19. And because we don't know what really the origin of it, and a man-made disaster of these botched shutdowns. We have now, Kristin, in a dozen states, now it's growing. Now people suing in over a dozen states nationwide, pushing back against their state elected officials and state health officials saying, you know what? You don't know what you're doing. You're ruining it for everybody. You're completely botching this and you're incompetent. So we're going to sue you to stop it because they're de facto, basically not operating at the will of the voter, but out of their own volition, making these rules ad hoc and on the fly. What do you say, Kristin?
That's exactly right. And people are fed up, not just because of the poor policy, Liz, but also the flagrant hypocrisy. I mean, as Gavin Newsom's orders were causing people to lose their jobs, their businesses, their life savings, their dreams, he goes out to a fancy restaurant with a big group of his friends, doesn't socially distance, doesn't wear masks, just flagrantly defies his own orders. We've seen other Democrats across the country also, violating their own COVID orders. The hypocrisy is so insulting, but it's going to get a lot harder for Democrats now that Trump is gone because, for the last 4 years, these Democrats have had the easiest applause line ever, which is just some version of Trump is bad. But now that Trump is no longer president, these Democrats are going to be held accountable increasingly for their own actions. And given what's going on in California with the botched rollout of the vaccine, the spike in COVID cases, and these failed lockdown orders, for Gavin Newsom, that's bad news for him. He really could get thrown out of office for this.
And it's also about common sense. Why did California shut down outdoor dining when their winter months are not as severe as the rest of the country? and you had an LA County official voting to ban outdoor dining, and then she went ate outdoors at a restaurant within hours of voting. And then you have big box stores that are allowed to stay open. We're talking Target, Costco, Home Depot, and Walmart, and then the little guys have to shut down. Mayor of Chicago saying, you know, the restaurants, you got to reopen them. She's saying they're going above and beyond what they're being asked to do. The little guys trying to fight for their lives, of course they're going to try and do the right thing. Your final word, Kristin.
It's all about virtue signaling for these Democrats. And mind you, these are the same people who have been shrieking about science and data for the last year. Their draconian lockdowns are often not based in science whatsoever. They've been devastating to business owners and private sector workers in this country. People are finally getting fed up and pushing back, and hopefully these Democrats are going to be held accountable for that now.
Kristin Tate, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much, Liz, for having me.